Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very long overdue recorded webinar on how you can use AI in your social media. Now, I'm going to explain why it's overdue, and it's because technology is changing so quickly, and I wanted to genuinely help. So I was hesitant to produce the webinar because things kept changing. So what I will say is things will probably change from the point that I make this video, and there's lots of different directions that you can take the applications and platforms that I'm going to share with you. But hopefully this gives you a good start. And from there, you can reach out, ask questions. And I've been thinking of putting out some courses or a education subscription service in the future. So if that would be of interest, be sure to reach out to me after if you'd like to continue learning from me, either one-on-one or in an online virtual group setting. So with that said, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend that I am a powerlifting coach, someone who already puts out content but struggles with consistency and wants to fast track certain things in my business. Because a few people that signed up for the webinar specifically for learning about this were powerlifting coaches. And so I'm going to try and help you out. We're going to go through this in a way that kind of has a workflow to it. Now, this isn't always the way that I do it, but it makes sense in this situation. So with that said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we could map out our plan using ChatGPT. So one thing that I'm going to tell you is that I actually subscribe for ChatGPT Plus, and I also subscribe for Canva, and I subscribe for Descript. So there are some costs involved. You can find workarounds, but what I would say is if you are really serious about growing your presence online and saving time, this might be a worthwhile investment. And when you're doing your taxes at the end of the year, it's often for most people would be a tax write-off or just a business expense that reduces the amount of taxes that you pay at the end of the year. So with that said, we are going to go through a prompt on ChatGPT, and I'm just going to basically take you along on the journey. If you notice, I'm kind of looking away. I got the 3 monitors going around, so I'm not ignoring you. I'm just kind of looking over here. So here we go. So as you can see, I've typed out an example. I'm going to read it out to you just because it'll help with editing later, and you'll see what I mean. So the example I've used, and I'm not picking out anybody, I'm just making this up, is I am a 40-year-old powerlifting coach who likes to work with a diverse population. I am more than just a coach and enjoy walks with my dog and enjoying local cafes and finding the next greatest protein donut. I work best with powerlifters with a few years of experience in the gym who are looking to start progressing their strength and fine-tuning their nutrition. I also encourage them to enjoy the little things in life. My content flow on Instagram is 2 videos to 1 text-based post, and I post every day of the month. With that said, help me create a content plan for the month of August. Now, full disclosure, we are in ChatGPT 4, so that's going to give you a few extra tools. That's why I've invested in it. ChatGPT, just the regular free one, might just not be as concise in its responses, but you can still try all this stuff in the free version too. All right, so if you are stuck for ideas, this just gave you 20 different video post ideas and 10 different text post ideas to give you a post per day on Instagram. Obviously, you could change your request to get even more post ideas, but this is going to allow you to batch create. There's a lot of different avenues that you could go with batch creating, batch recording, batch curating, and we'll kind of go through that in this webinar. But I just want to show how helpful ChatGPT is for content creation. And you can always refine this by saying in the tone of, so do this in the tone of Crocodile Dundee, because I think I might have some Australians watching. Now, this might not be the most Australian thing, but it'll probably give some like stereotypical Australian stuff, similar to how I'm Canadian and I say A all the time. So we're good. So as you can see, it just kind of uses different wording and stuff to give you the same suggestions, but that's how you can finesse the suggestions to make it easier for you to kind of make it personal to you. So you can ask it to make more empathetic suggestions. You can have it make more emotionally intelligent suggestions. You can have it have a tone of patience if you're finding that the content that it's suggesting is a bit more abrupt than you'd like it to be. You can add more context to the situation. You can say your target client is a cancer survivor, or your demographic is mostly male, mostly female. Maybe they are a whole different demographic that I haven't listed. So it gives you a lot of options to really customize it to you and list it out so that you don't have to think twice about what your plan is. So now let's dive into a carousel post. I like carousel posts. They're pretty fun. So we're going to start a new chat, go into ChatGPT-4. All right. So I'm going to type out the prompt and then I'll read it out to you and then we'll be on the same page. All right. So I'm going to read out this prompt to you. Now the prompt is, I want to convey the benefits of creatine in regards to progressing in a powerlifting program. With the information you have available to you, help me curate a multi-panel carousel post with imagery that will help me explain the benefits. Make this design as shareable as possible so that if colleagues offering the same service see it, they'd agree and resonate with the messaging and want their clients to see it. At the end, put a call to action as to how the reader can connect with me to learn more. My social media handle is at Super Awesome Powerlifter. I give that context so that I can put that into the design. And from here, it'll hopefully give us kind of basically the blueprint for what we'd put into Canva. So as you can see here, it's going to give you suggestions of imagery. When I've used this prompt, I've actually decided I don't want suggestions of imagery. I just want it to be black and white, and that's personal preference. This could give you guidance as to what to incorporate in your next photo shoot, whether it's an amateur photo shoot or whether you have a professional photographer come to the gym. This will give you a list of shots that you might need. Perhaps it helps you with your batch content creation. You know that you're going to have to get pictures of a scoop of creatine, maybe pictures of you lifting, stuff like that. So as you can see, it gets pretty in depth. I'm going to show you an example of what would happen if you didn't want the imagery. And here we go. So I've just added to this thread. I don't want any imagery in the carousel design, just white text on purple background. I'm going to click send message. Now it's going to give you the breakdown for what you could put into your Canva post. And a lot of people are familiar with Canva. We're going to dive into some of the fancy things you can do. But for the time being, I won't get into the specifics as we're designing this. We're going to just keep going with prompts. The next prompt that we're going to do, because as ChatGPT evolves, it gets a bit more accurate and a bit more powerful. I'm going to show you what it can do now. So I'll read out the prompt. With all of this information in mind, I want to be able to cite my sources and provide references to the information I'm sharing online. Can you give me a list of citations that can go with the information shared in this design? Now, what I would say with these, it's always important to do your due diligence and actually check these citations, because sometimes you can reference a study and it doesn't really have relevance to the context that you're trying to share. So just wanted to give that disclaimer. But having this as a tool is quite helpful. It's kind of like a find or search button in a encyclopedia. Saves you some time, but you still have to fact check and just make sure everything is accurate, because sometimes AI will kind of fill in the gaps and make a fairy tale where it doesn't know the answer. But it is getting better with time. But like everything, everybody makes mistakes, including robots. Okay, so next up, I'm going to show you how you can generate an AI image within Canva Pro. So full disclosure, we're using Canva Pro. It's a paid service. And so there's going to be features that aren't available in the free version. And if you're looking to update your social media, I would say bite the bullet and invest in Canva Pro. If you have a team, you can kind of share with them, and that'll be very helpful. So what we're going to do is we're going to utilize ChatGPT to help us create our visual prompt. So I'm going to read out this prompt to you and we're going to see what happens. I find that every time that I work with any kind of like image generation, it's a surprise every time. So we're going to read what I've put. Help me create a visual description for a wide open field filled with happy dogs and people who lift. Make the description as anatomically accurate and descriptive as possible to avoid errors in the AI rendering. So this is a super long description that won't fit into the field in Canva. So I'm going to get it to shorten it to 300 characters or less. Obviously, there's a difference, but I'm pretty sure that Canva wouldn't really work with the longer, more detailed description, although it was pretty nice to read. So now we're going to go into apps and then text to image. And we're going to paste what we came up with. And as you will see, there are a lot of different styles. These different styles that you choose are going to give you a different design. And sometimes different styles will come up with something more accurate versus the other. For buildings and stuff, I find minimalist is good. For anything with human features, photo generally works pretty good, but sometimes you have to go with filmic. When you want to get creative, obviously psychedelic, that might be fun. But let's start off with photo, see how realistic this looks when we get it to render. We have the option to create square, landscape, or portrait. Now, that's going to matter if you're making stuff for a reel or for a story panel, but we're just going to work with square graphics in this instance, keeping in mind that you can always resize things. But if you wanted to resize one of these images, you would have to select the aspect ratio at the time of creation. It won't resize the actual graphic you create. Once it's done, it's like a rasterized image. I believe that's the right word. I might be wrong. So we've selected square, we've selected photo, we've got our description, and we're going to create. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not good. Let's see what else. Let's go back. Let's try minimalist. This is a little better. I'll give you another example that'll give you the power of what this can do. So in this other example, I'm going to choose something that's a bit more static in its design, like it's not changing so much because there's like a set model. So I'm going to give you the model of my car. So here's an example that's a bit more legit. This actually looks like my car. So if you need specific stock imagery, it's just cool to have this as a tool. Obviously, there's also DALL-E that you can use via ChatGPT, especially if you have ChatGPT Pro or Plus or whatever it's called. But just knowing that this stuff is available and then knowing what you can do with it is pretty helpful. So an example of what you can do, let's go edit photo, background remover, and then so I'm just searching in elements for dramatic parking lot. Before I do that, I'm going to make sure that this is okay. We're good there. So obviously there's some things that we could do better, but this kind of gives you an idea of how you can get kind of creative with stuff. Let's say I want to just tell the world that this is my car. So I'm going to look up white fade because I want this to really kind of stand out. This is my car. And then I don't want the white fade to fade the car. So I'm going to change the position to go backward. Now it just kind of fades the sky because I'm going to put some text there. And then I'm going to highlight the text and effects. And let's say I'll just do some of this and some of that. So everybody knows it's my car. Maybe I want to have a QR code in there. That's a fun feature that people maybe take for granted. Okay, and then if they scan this with their phone, see if it works. So ideally, this should take me to my own Instagram profile, and I will see. So on a lot of phones these days, you just open your camera app if you've never scanned one of these, and then it opens it up, and there, oh, yeah, there's my Instagram profile. Now you can see it. That's me. So those are some of the cool things that you can do that you might not have thought of with Canva. And I'm going to show you some other stuff. So let's go into design, carousel. Okay, so this looks a lot like one of my templates that I use on my profile, and I probably based it off of this. But this is the kind of template that you could do for the prompt that we created before with creatine for powerlifting. And so you would just need to create pages as you see fit. You can apply all 8 pages. Let's give that a shot. And then change the info as needed. Let's say you needed, well, in our design, we have 7 pages. So this would probably work pretty good. So first page, I'm going to just kind of copy paste. The one thing that's funny is seeing people make these graphics and they leave their really great site on there and they don't quite customize it enough for a person to think, oh, wow, what an original graphic. It's like, oh, wow, that came from Canva. So just bear in mind, obviously, you could replace that with your brand or your website. Maybe you kind of want to keep it simple and you just take all that stuff out and they know that it's yours because you posted it. But it's not a bad idea to incorporate something that attaches it back to you. Just know if it's really, really good and you're consistently putting out really, really good stuff and it has a similar look or aesthetic to it, people are going to start associating that look with you and you'll get brand recognition in that way. We won't spend too much time going into this because as you can see, you can kind of go through the design that we got through ChatGPT and integrate it into here. So I'm going to show you something else that's kind of cool that we can dive into if we need to in a future call or webinar or course. And so if you have an interest in this, be sure to let me know. I'm going to show you a platform called OBS Studio. So this is going to be pretty intense because I'm screen sharing the screen and the screen is capturing me screen sharing. So right now on OBS, it's capturing my main monitor, which also has me because I'm in that screen. So I can kind of put that in the middle. And Zoom is capturing the OBS screen, which is, yeah. So without making that too confusing, I'm going to show you kind of how you would select this. So let's say profile. And I'm going to show you podcast, Instagram Live, because for about a year, I streamed the Lifestyle Chase live. So if we go into this, then it's going to, let's see, I might need to change this up a little bit. Profile, scene collection, live podcast set. And here I, in the past, would connect my Canon camera, but for these purposes, we're going to connect my iPhone camera. I'll flip it over. Oop, that doesn't work. So I had to flip the camera over because I had my camera upside down when I do the podcast. So then you get to see how I fix that. Okay, so now we got it right set up. As you can see, it's a little spicy in here. I'm a little red, but you'll see that we got my face here. And then we can also add display capture. And we can shrink that down. So this is basically what I did was I added the 2 different channels. The input capture is my microphone. And so I usually had to have the computer audio going through a soundboard to be picked up through the microphone. And so everything that went through my computer went out of my computer through a USB. And then it went into my computer through the microphone input, which was also USB. So if that confuses you and you're wanting to live stream, we can have another call, or maybe you can hire me for some one-on-one consultation. But I'm going to show you some of the other features that we can do here. So I'm just going to set this down because this is just super awkward. So some of the other things that we can do is we can create another scene. And so what I would do is I would add in like the podcast intro. So media source. Okay. Browse local file. So I'm going to have to go down the rabbit hole to the Lifestyle Chase, to season 5 intro, open. Okay. And so I would basically start the podcast with this and I'd stream it to my Instagram. So it's playing the audio from the intro through here, and it can't hear my microphone because my microphone input isn't included in this list in this scene. So I'd play through the intro, it would finish, and then I'd go into the scene, and it would display myself and my guest. My guest would be captured in the video platform, very similar to how you can see my video screen here. So basically be a very similar setup to this, but obviously the screen would take up this whole other side. And then I could overlay some, basically I would take a title and make it green screen. So I'll see if I have an old one kicking around. Here's what I'll do. I'm going to go back over to, and I'll show you how I would create something like this. I'm going to make it green and I'm going to select my text. Now, this is going to be kind of outdated because we don't need to necessarily do stuff like this with all the AI stuff, but it was kind of a cool feature at the time. So I'm going to show you all the same. Now, let's see. So this was the exact effect that I often used. And I'm going to download. And basically, before the podcast, I would create this and then I would stream this out to Instagram Live. And I'll kind of show you how I go through that. Browse. For this one, we want to loop it because otherwise it'll just disappear. And then we'll shrink it down, get it so it just kind of shows up there. Then we're going to go to, it's been a while since I've done this, so bear with me, filters. And effect filters, chroma key. Okay. Ta-da. Then you have a nameplate kind of going on. So with your streaming, you would click to start streaming. In order to get that set up, you'd have to go into settings. Stream, you would do this, but I had to use a platform called Yellow Duck, and Yellow Duck would connect with my Instagram and give me the server and stream key. Basically, I'd have to have two programs running to bring everything that I was capturing over to Instagram to stream it live. You can also get paid services, but this is how I did it for free for about a year and a half, and I didn't have to pay for a premium version of Zoom. I would just use Google Meet. I wasn't able to record with Google Meet, and so that's why I started doing this. And when the pandemic happened, I started to live stream. So that's kind of a fun fact with that. I would create one for me, one for the guest. In retrospect, I wouldn't do it this way because I would do the start streaming, start recording. I'd record the whole thing, but then my recorded version that I had text over it. This would be great if you used Zoom and you recorded with Zoom and then you set this up for live stream. That would be an example where I'd still do it. And it's kind of cool to know how to do this stuff because it can come in handy for if you have to live stream a competition and you could set one of these scenes. You could set one of these scenes up for every commercial. And so you could live stream the lifters. You could have a camera set up with them. You could have multiple cameras integrated. Basically, you're limited to the processor of your computer and the amount of devices and plugins you have. But if you have a powerful computer, you can do a lot of cool things, and you could set up a pretty solid live stream of your different powerlifting competitions or your different cool online events or webinars of your own that you want your clients to see. So obviously there's a lot of options there to utilize, and it's a bit of a rabbit hole to dive into, but we will. Oh no, I shared the wrong thing. Okay, so I was sharing the wrong thing, but here we go. So I've added in the nameplate. I went into filters. I added an effect filter. I selected chroma key. Basically, chroma key automatically selected green, but if I selected blue, it would give me a total different outcome. But it selected green and basically took out all the green and left me with my animated text. if you have like animate like blurs in there and stuff, you can be a bit distorted, but if it's just like fine lines and a little animation, that'll stick. I kept it on loop so it doesn't disappear after it's played through. And I was talking about how when we go through the different scenes, you can add more scenes for different sponsors for different events and stuff like that. So now we're going to exit this, but stop sharing. Okay. So the next part of this is I'm going to show you some cool stuff with Descript. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take the video capture from this first part of the presentation and edit it inside of Descript to kind of show you real time how it works. So I'll be right back. All right, so welcome back. Now, for this part of the presentation, I'm going to use Descript. So I will share the screen once again. As you can see, I use Descript quite a bit. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to start a new project. And from here, you can actually record from within Descript, which I have yet to do, but was on a webinar today where I learned that that was possible. And today, I'm just going to drag the video file from the Zoom capture from part 1 of the webinar, drag it into here, and it's going to transcribe the whole thing. If you have multiple speakers, you can train it to recognize the multiple speakers. So it will pick out sound clips of each person, and then it can provide a transcription that's labeled. Sometimes there's errors, but it's getting pretty dialed in these days, especially if you have people with like dramatically different voices. Obviously, if you have two dudes that sound very similar, then it's not going to turn out as different as what you might think. So we're going to let this prepare the transcription. All right, so now we have the Zoom footage. It's been transcribed. We have a lot of cool things that we can do. So if we get into the meat and potatoes of it, you can see that we can text this based on, or we can edit this based on the transcription. So we can remove filler words. Oftentimes, I will usually just remove ums and ahs. So I'll unselect apply to all. If you've ever edited video and had to manually remove ums and ahs, this is a game changer. You can also remove or shorten word gaps. I'm going to make it anything that's longer than 7 seconds. So now let's play through this, see what it does. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very long overdue recorded webinar on how you can use AI in your social media. Now I'm going to explain why it's overdue, and it's because technology is changing so quickly, and I wanted to genuinely help. So I was hesitant to produce the webinar because things kept changing. So what I will say is things will probably change from the point that I make this video, and there's lots of different directions that you can take the applications and platforms I'm going to share with you. But hopefully this gives you a good start. And from there, you can reach out, ask questions. Maybe we'll set up a call. I can teach you things. And I've been thinking of putting out some courses or a education subscription service in the future. So if that would be of interest, be sure to reach out to me after if you'd like to continue learning from me, either one-on-one or in an online virtual group setting. So with that said, basically what I'm going to do, as we're going through this, I want to show you some of the features that I was toggling on and off. Now I'm going to toggle on studio sound, which is going to take a while to apply. I'm going to toggle on ducking. That's going to help with the amplification. You have the option to turn on eye contact. I'm going to turn it off because I'm actually looking at the camera for a lot of the speaking part. But let's say you were going to batch record a whole bunch of pieces where it's like a talking reel, and you prepared some notes or you've prepared your script that you want to say. You can't do it all off by memory. Technology has advanced to the point where you could read your script and you're looking at the screen here and it could correct it so that your eyes are looking there. So keep that in mind as you're batch creating. If we think back to the list of content pieces that we were making in ChatGPT, full disclosure, the eye contact feature hasn't been released for very long on Descript, so I haven't personally had a chance to use it. So you haven't seen me use it in any of my content up to this point. But when the technology gets to the point where it looks natural, not creepy, this could be extremely versatile for onboarding your clients, making things personal, speeding up your process for creating content for your online frameworks, stuff like that. Any kind of videos where you want to explain things, show people around your systems, introduce yourself, things like that, that used to be monotonous because you kept having to redo it and yet kept having to try and make it look more personal. You got technology on your side, and if you aren't using it, somebody else will. So it's in your best interest to at least know how it works, to know what's out there. Because again, if the tools are out there, it's kind of like somebody wanting to pick up garbage off their floor piece by piece instead of using a vacuum cleaner. One of the things that I'll show you while we're waiting is if I press enter, and I'm going to add a speaker label. So I've actually got my own voice built into this, but we have some stock voices here. I'll show you what it does when I use my own voice. And in order to add my voice onto here, I had to take about 45 minutes of pre-recorded material. Then I had to validate it by reading through a script that basically authorized Descript to use my voice in the software. So that should be your fail-safe from somebody else faking your voice, but I'm sure somebody's already done it. As you've seen in viral posts and stuff, this is the technology where you can do voices of somebody else saying what you want them to say, and it's not actually them. With my voice that I've captured, I didn't select enough of a range, so you can definitely tell it's AI, but some of the stock voices, it's hard to tell. And I should be able to show you an example of that. So we'll start with mine. And writing. The cool thing with this is if you are putting together a podcast or something you forgot to say a part and you're just on the go, you don't have a place to record, and you have your voice built into the system, you can fill in some gaps in that way. So let's see if it will play it for us. I know it's working on a lot of projects right now. Right now it's applying studio sound to all the raw audio from before. Hey, how's it going? My name is Chris Little, and this is a test of the overdub feature. Obviously, that sounds a little bit goofy, so I'm going to show you some of the stock voices. We're going to choose Don. Don sounds like he's a movie person. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very long...
Hey, how's it going? My name is Chris Little, and this is a test of the overdub feature.
So that actually sounds a little bit better. And it's a funny segue for a little side project that I'm working on that'll show you near the end. With the audio quality here in what I've been showing you, I am unclear as to whether it's my microphone today or Zoom, but usually audio quality isn't this like chippy choppy. So we'll see what happens as it's going through the studio sound. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very long overdue recorded webinar on how you can use AI in your social media. Now, I'm going to explain why it's overdue, and it's because technology is changing so quickly, and I wanted to genuinely help. So I was hesitant to produce the webinar because things kept changing. So what I will say is things will probably change from the point that I make this video, and there's lots of different directions that you can take the applications and platforms I'm going to share with you. But hopefully this gives you a good start. And from there, you can reach out, ask questions. Maybe we'll see. So I'll show you a few of the features that you can do here. I won't go into the weeds with the editing process, but I'll show you how you could. Let's see this. Okay. So publishing, you can export this and you can actually export the timeline into one of the other programs you might already use. So I regularly use Premiere. Basically what this will do is it'll take the raw file and export it onto your computer where you want. And it'll include, I think it's like a XLS document or XML probably. And it maps out where all of your clips are. So where it's clipped out all the ums, it'll transpose that over to Adobe Premiere. And then you can go into your detailed edits with Adobe Premiere. Adobe Premiere has a lot of like audio correction features that have come out with the rise of AI. And you can really get crazy with Adobe Photoshop if you have the Adobe Creative Suite, where you can, let's say I had a picture, you can basically make it do a rendering of the rest of the background. So if I had just like a blank wall, you can render like an apocalyptic theme for the rest. You could have your video cropped and it could look like you're in something way more crazy than what you are. So just think like green screen, and kicked up a notch, because here you can tell it's kind of green screen. When you start integrating like Photoshop tools, Photoshop beta, then you can get pretty wild with that. So that would be basically what it is. It'll export the file, basically the video file plus the XML file, and then you drag that into your Adobe Premiere project, and it basically set up your timeline there with all the clips. The other things that you can do are you can export the transcript. I like to export the transcript because then I'm going to take it to Decipher. So let's give this a little export. Go to here. Webinar, just call it that. Save. We're going to stop this screen share. I'm going to open up Decipher. Now, for this, you can also upload a video into Decipher, but if you upload the transcript, the text transcript, it'll go through it that much faster. So if you're using Descript and Decipher, then it's a good 1-2 punch kind of thing. The exciting thing is where everything else has cost money, I don't pay for Decipher. So bonus. So you're in Decipher, you're going to upload a file, you're going to choose a file. It's going to take me to the webinar doc. See if I can find it. Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. Webinar. Open. Oop. I've done too many. So I have to log out and log in with a different account. Let's try this one. And as time has gone on, Decipher has gotten more and more accurate. But in the past, I found it to make little errors in the context of the media that it was summarizing, or it would take longer. I think it's probably gone through everything. So we're going to go back to the library, get a little refresh. Cool. So it even describes me in such nice words. Obviously, it takes things out of context. So this is the show notes that it gave me. This works basically Decipher. I would use it primarily for podcasts. This can help you create the show notes, but I'll show you how it'll make errors. It says Chris Little is an expert in using AI for social media and content creation. He's a powerlifting coach and has a passion for helping others grow their online presence. Chris is known for his innovative approach to using AI tools like ChatGPT, Canva, and Descript to streamline content creation and save time. All of this is accurate, but I'm not a powerlifting coach. I'm just a general population personal trainer and online coach. That's the only errors there. And then everything else is pretty on point. And it's just picked up the fact that I said powerlifting. That was it. I like the summary. The summary can give you a lot of things that you can use for later. I'll give you an example. So we're going to copy this, copy, and we're going to go into ChatGPT. And I like to use for because I feel bougie. Going to paste this. Actually, I'm going to say, wait, so basically I said create an SEO optimized description I could use for a social media caption based on the following context. And I paste it in the context. And then you look at this and it's discover the power of AI for powerlifting coaches in our latest webinar. Uncover tips on using ChatGPT to strategize your Instagram content plan, create engaging carousel posts, and generate innovative AI images with Canva. Dive into the world of live streaming with OBS Studio. Plus, explore the extra edge that Canva Pro and Descript can give you for top-tier content creation and editing. Boost your online presence and save time with these handy tools tailored for powerlifting coaches. Transform your coaching journey today. Then it gives you some handy dandy hashtags. So as you can see, it can be very versatile in that way. You can say, so for YouTube, you don't use hashtags, you just use tags and you separate them with comments. You'll find this with a lot of blogging platforms as well. So then you could copy and paste something like this into your YouTube. And if you have like a blogging page, like a Substack or any kind of any website blog is generally going to use a list of words instead of hashtags. And then for the social media, like Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that, then you'll be back to using the hashtags. And so I just like the versatility of that as to how you can bounce back and forth. This, just the show notes, is a huge game changer because maybe I won't use it word for word, but it certainly captures the essence of what I'm trying to say without me having to rethink everything that we said, especially when Descript can give all of that info. So we're going to stop sharing here. We're going to go back to Descript. So if we wanted to publish the video, we basically go to export video and we can do it in 4K. We can include like the metadata. We can include all kinds of different things. Right now, it's still working through some of the files. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. If we go into templates, so you can do something like the basically those Hormozy style TikToks and really batch create. So you can change the layout of this.
set up a call. I can teach you things. And I've been thinking of putting out some courses or a education subscription service in the future. So if that would be of interest, be sure to reach out to me after if you'd like to continue learning from me, either one-on-one or in an online virtual group setting.
So this is a cool alternative as a one-stop shop. If you've already heard of like Opus.ai, then shit. I might have forgotten to share this. So what I've done is I've gone into templates, I've chosen captions, and then I went and I changed this to portrait instead of original. If we go back to original, we can go and expand this.
So with that said, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend that I am a powerlifting coach, someone who already puts out content but struggles with consistency and wants to fast track certain things in my business. Because a few people that signed up for the webinar specifically for learning about this were powerlifting coaches. And
so that's kind of a cool feature. I'll use this mostly for short form. I'll give you an example of how you can make that work. So let's say we highlight this. Actually, no. Okay, highlight this. And then duplicate to new composition. Then we go up to here to that little sticky downy menu. And then it's just going to have this body of text. And then from here, we can change the layout of the thing here. So instead of landscape, I can make it portrait. There we go. And I can make this like this. And then I can go to the templates. Maybe I want to choose that. And let's see what happens when I press play.
hello, everybody, and welcome to a very long overdue recorded webinar on how you can use AI in your social media. Now, I'm going to explain why it's overdue, and it's because technology is changing so quickly, and I wanted to genuinely help. So I was hesitant to produce the webinar because things kept changing.
And you can see it's 25.9 seconds long. And that's just one way you can do the short form. But if you want to do this even faster, you could just take the raw file and go to opus.pro, upload the file, or take your YouTube and put it into there. And if you have used that all up, like many people do, then you would go to video.ai. I'm just going to double check the URL. Yeah, vidyo.ai. That stuff is pretty straightforward. I'm not going to give you the rundown for that. I will say that CapCut is also a very powerful editor, but I mostly would recommend using that on the desktop. But with that said, this covers quite a bit of material. So if you have this clip and you wanted to publish this 25-second clip, you would export, and obviously you wait for the enhancements, but if you want to export without enhancements, save. We're going to stop the share while it is doing that. It's about 20%. Once it's exported, I'll show you the final file. Okay, so we're gonna share again. QuickTime Player. This is what I've exported. We're going to play it through.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very long overdue recorded webinar on how you can use AI in your social media. Now, I'm going to explain why it's overdue, and it's because technology is changing so quickly, and I wanted to genuinely help. So I was hesitant to produce the webinar because things kept changing.
Now, obviously, this is something that CapCut can do, and the specific template that I chose wasn't the most glamorous. But if you are going to make caption videos out of your 60-minute video and you want to pick specific pieces, having this tool to copy to a new project and kind of go through it that way, it's pretty cool because it gives you a lot of options to customize what you want to export, to really tailor it to a specific brand and kind of have like a one-stop shop. It's pretty efficient in comparison to what we would have had to do like a year and a half ago, where we would have had to type out each caption manually. When Hormozy graphics, Hormozy little real things first came out, AI wasn't nearly as prevalent as what it is now. So with that said, this is basically like your teaser. If you want to learn more from me, I've been thinking of putting out some courses or a subscription model type thing. If you want to learn more from me faster, we can book a one-on-one consultation call where you would hire me to help you with aspects of your business when it comes to social media, using your AI, maybe doing a live stream of an event, anything like that, or just kind of like looking at your processes and helping you be more efficient. But I wanted to teach you as much as I could in about an hour. And I hope that you walk away from this with some things that help you. Thank you so much for participating. What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically enroll all of you into the premium version of my Substack as a thank you to you. And so anything that I do that's premium behind a paywall, you will be grandfathered and you will receive that. So thank you for your support. Thank you for enrolling on this. And if you have any questions, you know how to find me. You can also reply to any of the emails that you get from me through Substack. Whoop. I almost forgot one thing. This is actually pretty cool. So you got my ending spiel, and I'm going to share with you one of my recent projects that's going to really showcase what's possible with AI. So what I'm going to do is I'm opening up Apple Podcasts, and I want you to tell me, well, I guess you can't tell me. I'm just going to show you a podcast, just a random podcast, no agenda here. All right. So I wanted to do a project where I could say what I wanted to say in a thoughtful way, but not have the biases coming from me. So this is a project that I created with the help of AI.
You're listening to the How to Lose Weight Fast podcast. If you know someone who would appreciate this episode, please share it with them to get notified when we release new episodes. Subscribe and rate 5 stars to help the show grow. Let's get started. The power of pedestrianism, walking your way to weight loss and wellness in the age of high-intensity fitness regime.
So this is a podcast that I've created with the help of AI and with my own content prompts. And I've used the overdub feature that I showed you, and I just chose Dawn's voice. So Dawn, the narrator, takes people through some simple, sustainable nutrition advice. And I use the title How to Lose Weight Fast, not because I think you should lose weight fast, not because I think everybody needs to lose weight, but because when somebody is making that Google search, I want to have something on the internet that helps them make sustainable choices. The topics that I've gone on are talking about walking. We've talked about the importance of protein. We've talked about how prescription medication for weight loss might not work long term, because what happens when finances are tight, or what happens when a medication is discontinued or no longer works. There's so much nuance to that, and it's a case-by-case basis. We talked about body positivity and how sometimes when a person completely disregards the benefits of movement altogether, it can go in the totally wrong direction. But at the same time, body positivity can be beneficial for the confidence and sense of security of people that are both underweight and overweight. We talked about loneliness and societal biases when it comes to making a fitness journey and like making it work, how you can't really do it when you're isolated. And so my goal is to put out basically daily 4-minute episodes. And this will basically address the things that would help people if they are on Google and searching how to lose weight fast. This is going to be something that I hope to be highly shareable. And so if you want to check that out, go on to Apple Podcasts to How to Lose Weight Fast podcast and give it a subscribe. You can also subscribe on Substack for that. And this is just something that I hope to be a tool for the general population to kind of like get them into fitness more so, and maybe be like an introduction. Over time, I might add some guest appearances on there, probably introduce myself. But for the time being, it's a totally behind the scenes, anonymous way of helping people in a sneaky way with the clickbait title. But keep in mind that I'm trying to do this ethically with the exact same advice that I put it on my own personal page, but without them knowing that it's coming from some stocky looking Canadian who likes jujitsu. And I don't know. You never know how people are going to take advice when they have that bias of like who they perceive a person to be. And so I thought by having this anonymous setup that it might be a fresh new way to do it. And by utilizing AI tools, it allows me to still have bandwidth to keep up with my other projects while putting out a resource out in the internet. Maybe it'll tank, maybe it'll flourish, but I wanted to share that with you before we signed off. And with that said, if you have any questions, send me a message. Other than that, that's it.